How's it going, folks? All right, so blending parallel overdrives or amp tones, amps in a box, whatnot, analog versus some digital ways, like we've done it with the Boss MS3 within a multi-effects. And then also we're getting into to try to demystify and clear up and talk about some options here. The difference between a resistor-based line resistance mixer and a powered buffered mixer, and accomplishing things similar to what you might want to get into with the Wetter Box or different solutions like that for parallel blending of different effects and control of that with an expression pedal, or control in an analog configuration like this with a volume pedal of one or the other or both. So first of all, I'll get into the signal chain too of what's happening here, which is pretty simple, a few things. But first of all, why do you want to do this? Why would you want to get into this? Because series versus parallel is very different, and I'll talk about that as well a little bit. In accomplishing sort of a tone that you might want to achieve in your head and how to get there versus stacking series pedals. So consider this similar to using a mixing board with two different amplifiers with two different distortions before those amplifiers or whatnot. So let's just hear a little bit what I'm talking about. So this would be, also, and you'll get to hear these really cool NUX pedals if that interests you in this sort of live talk through. This would be a more bright driven, scooped amp sound right now. And then this is a very warm overdrive sound and transparent, where this has a lot more coloration to it. So let's hear this based on the Fender 59 Bassman amp. Right? Versus this 65 Overdrive, which is based on the Janray transparent overdrive, but is something like a 65 Blackface Fender sound. We can even warm that up even more. So with the two of these blended together, you could, let's say, have a generally warm overdrive sound, but you want to bring in some spank and dirt on it. You can blend them 50-50. Or more warm. You see where I'm going there? Flip it the opposite way. Less of this, more of the dirty spank. You really hear it there, right? So this can be considered similar to if you had like an overdrive pedal going into one clean amp and another overdrive going into another clean amp, and they were both mic'd on the mixing board, and you could bring up one or the other to get your final result in the mix. Now, of course, we can do that with DAW in the DAW as well. I'm working within the analog world to demystify and break it down to its essence to really understand this, right? So that's the way we might blend two guitar players together, but you can do that, with one performance So this can be considered, we're looking at solutions that you would want to do on your pedal board or in your rack, or a simple setup that you could do live in your studio. If you to achieve that like really golden tone that you're looking for, or put it on your board for live. And then the different ways to control that and the expression manipulation of it, toggling on and off something with the different options, which I will get into with some of the options that are out there right now as of July 2025. Now, if we blend these 50-50, the most exaggerated example I can give you is for you to hear the blend of a pass-through clean. So this is 50% clean guitar, not affected, right? And this is the overdrive. And we can bring in the clean. With just a little light overdrive. Now, if that was set extremely distorted, you can get a really exaggerated effect of that, which can tend to sound a little weird with a really clean sound, and then this sort of background distort. It's generally used for a subtler effect. And there are other pedals that do this clean parallel blend, like the Sparkle Drive, and the Electro-Harmonix HOT WAX has that blend. And then also, I think so, a JHS pedal has that clean pass-through. But so there's the exaggerated example of clean. And there's the engaged. Right? So you're starting to see now all the different possibilities of this in your pedal board configuration. If this had a foot switch, and you could turn this on or off, or blend cleans with dirty, etc. So let's go with a very overdriven sound of two different overdrives blended in the middle with the neck pickup. That's got a nice spank on it. And if it was just this one, it'd be warmer. I mean, they're both great, but you can really hear that one's warm. And this one we've got in a high spanky mode. And once more, the blend. Okay, the setup. Let's talk about the simple setup for this analog demonstration. So I have a splitter off screen here, which in this case, I'm just using what I had available here, my Mimic in bypass mode, which gives me a more than adequate split signal. Now, that is where there might be a couple bucks spent, because you want a really good ABY splitter that does not affect your instrument tone and any loss of the low, extreme low, high frequencies, etc. Whereas this old guy, your basic splitter, is not going to do it, right? And then I'll get into the difference between the a powered versus a resistor-based mixer there. That is splitting to the two different pedals that sum into the resistance mixer, and then the mono out to a set clean amp sound, which I demonstrated. before. And while we have them both bypassed, we can now hear it with, oop, that's one of the reasons why the difference between cross interference, which I'll talk about in 1 second. But let's blend this clean over here with this distorted. Let's make it do that again. Listen. I can control it with the volume knob. Funky. Okay, that's a perfect segue to talk about why this is the poor man's wetter box or similar. So this is using simple resistors, and it's trying to minimize the crosstalk between the channels versus something that just splits it and sums it with no adaptation to counteract crosstalk interference, between the two. Whereas a powered with a 9-volt power buffered mixer, splitter, whatever solution that might have switches on it to turn these on or off, like something from SaturnWorks or similar, or GigRig, is using more advanced electronics to buffer. No signal loss, no cross interference talk, okay? Now, that happens, this interference that you just heard there only happens with this analog simple setup, or, in bypass mode. And that could be specific to these pedals, even though they're from the same maker. But as a studio solution, if you have some things like this around, and even for live, with a specific setting, if it's working for you, it's working. So I've had this since the 80s, and what they could be used for is like a double neck guitar with 2 outputs back in the day, or something with 2 different pickup outputs, anything that you want to sum together coming out, or vice versa, one thing going in and then going to 2 different amp setups or whatnot. But this is the most simple and basic solution, which you probably can find these for, I think, $30 online used and things like that. But there's better, more expensive solutions with no crosstalk interference between them. So for the sake of this example, this is blending them really. Blending them very well for the purpose of illustration. So let's talk about also why you would want to do parallel blending versus series. So in series, you can see here, Mr. Gnome, hello, how you doing? Cool cat, biker gnome. In series, you've got one pedal feeding into the next pedal. So consider that the first pedal can, let's say, hijack your tone. And that is going to greatly influence the next stage, like 2 overdrives that we do all the time, right? And again, you might know me as the Boss MS3 guy that is just, showing every single thing that you can do. So there is a series on that with parallel blending, mixing, clean and dry signals, etc. So the difference between series and parallel is that this is going to greatly influence the other, whereas in parallel, you can mix and blend between the two without interaction in a daisy chain, one affecting the other. You're just blending them together, getting the best characteristic of whichever one you want. And then, of course, with the more advanced setups, you can have like an expression pedal here, like with the GigRig Wetter Box, or the another one, Mosquito Blender, I'll show you in a second, that the expression can control this blend of 100% this, and slowly blending this in to 50% each, slowly blending over here to 100% that one. So you could be blending that way between the two. And that is similar to what you saw me do here with all that one, as if these were moving together at the same time, 50% each, all the way to 100% this one with that one out of the signal. That's if there's an expression pedal there. One other variation on that, which I'll tell you about with a simple setup that you could do, is that's different from what I just explained, is you could have a simple volume pedal. Look at this. He's got the box. I've got the box. I had this since like 1987. Volume pedal in line with maybe this side, right? So if this was really dirty and scooped and spanky, and this is your warm distortion over here, right? Mostly that, and a little bit of this maybe blended in. So with this on a volume pedal going here in, you could slowly bring in this blend of the, almost like a treble boost with distortion, so adding that on top of this one. So whereas this will maintain a line level signal volume integrity, something like what I just explained. Oh no, my rubber came off. What I just explained, as you blend this in, it's going to increase some volume because we can't take that one down at the same time with a simple analog setup. So keep that in mind when we talk about the SaturnWorks simple mixers, switchers, etc. Okay? So I don't mean to dumb this down. It's a good refresher for any of us, maybe, hopefully, whatever stage of experience you are with this audio engineering stuff, right? So I think we mentioned that, considering this similar to the mixer board, another example to sort of give the full example of that idea was if you had one guitar here going in your amp mic'd up, and then you had an external effects outboard gear, we called it back in the day, with like a delay and a reverb, is that we would send the dry signal of the amped, the mic'd amp guitar into that effects unit. And a lot of times the first Digitech and DSP effects units would have a wet dry that you could wet, all the way dry. All the way wet would completely bring your direct signal out, and you just hear the effect, and then there's a blend or just all the way dry. So we would maybe put that all the way wet, put the return of that effects onto a fader, and then we could just fade in the reverb. So again, just tying that idea into all of this thinking in the analog world, the analog sense, to fully understand that. And of course, these don't have to be overdrives. It could be a chorus and a reverb, a delay, and a reverb, etc., blending them in together. Okay, so I think this is a good time to jump over here and talk about the current solutions here in July of 2025. The most premium solution seems, we've got no conversion there. We've got this incredible solution here of 2 mono or 2 stereo effects like this here that we're showing with my analog setup that you can blend as you choose and use the switch as you choose and use the expression pedal. So that would be the most premium solution, I think, at this time. Another one that I found was the Mosquito Blender Expressio, which, this handles one pedal that you can connect an expression pedal to control blending in that other pedal on your foot. So where I would use something like that, similar to several other rigs that I run that I really like, is like if I have my basic amp sound, or that might be like on my board, I'll have my OCD, and then I want to blend in my Tube Screamer type pedal into that. That's where something like this would be great. And fairly simple, and this could even be tucked under your pedal board, right? The only other right now solution that I'm seeing and finding is some solutions from SaturnWorks. They seem to have some really great splitters, mixers, etc., but not a lot with the use of an expression pedal quite as thorough solution as the Mosquito Blender and the Wetter Box. But I don't know if we can do the conversion here, but I think this was really pushing up at the time that I saw it, closer to $500. So you can see that's a significant investment. And that's kind of another reason why I'm mentioning what I'm showing here today with this, is to think out of the box and in your studio. Like I just dug around the old drawers and figured out a way to do this that could accomplish demonstrating this idea. Okay, let's blend a little bit more, experiment with that, and jam out here. Let's go with a lot of drive. Let's max this one out. Oops. There it is. I wonder where my... Yeah, more mids on this one. You can hear that. Less drive, more transparent. I never play it that full, but that's pretty cool. It does sound like a cranked amp. I can run this with a Fender Engager boost to shape it a little bit as a preamp right into my solid state power amp, into my cabinets. I use that on my board, actually. I love it. All right, let's blend it. Sounds good. Let's go the opposite direction with a little more of the warmer drive, a little less of this one. Just a smidge of this one. Holy delay, Batman. Get out of there. That reacts really well to the volume knob. And if it was just this one by itself, it was pretty similar, actually. Well, that one's louder. Now you can really hear the influence of the highly distorted one. You hear how it almost starts to sound a little transparent or three-dimensional? Almost like there's a clean in there. Let's see if it squeals. Yeah. That's some. We could use this as a clean boost. Clean treble boost, right? On that one. Into... It only seems to do that when one is on bypass. Yeah, I can hear that now. They're really clean with it. I think that's the best example that you heard there. I think when there's a drastic distortion with a really clean, it gets a little bit weird. Mid gain, clean, great. 2 mid gains, great. There you go. Split the neck. Use these as clean boosts. If it was just the one warm one, it would be quite different, eh? Make that really warm. Then bring in the spanky danky over here. There it is. Okay, so let's illustrate that example of using an inline volume pedal to control one of the 2 sides of the parallel mix. So here you can really hear a clear example of me bringing in this very trebly distorted side into this warm sound. So here's this by itself. So that's like my sort of Fender sound, and we're injecting it with some early 59 Fender influenced the Marshall Plexi distorted sound. Here we go. And like I explained before, it's also bringing in the volumes as they are set on here. So that's also a boost as well. If you didn't want the boost of volume and you just wanted the blend, again, that's why it costs the money. So to do the more advanced things. Or conversely, if this was the really bright one and heavy distorted, and let's say this was the warmer sound over here. Here we go. There you go. There's an extreme example. So obviously, the more money spent, the more complex the options that you have and less limitations, such as the cross interference that we've encountered and demonstrated. But, you know, in an application like simple setup or in the studio or whatnot, you can, you know, take these concepts and ideas that I talked about, whether it's in the mixer or in your guitar rig only, etc., and apply them in this quest to sort of blend things to find your sound, your unique sound, and the tones that you're looking for with what you have. Let's take this idea one step further. Let's say you did have like a Sparkle Drive or I think the Moonshine or whatnot that has this clean blend here, right? Now you can have sort of 3 stages of blend where on this side we have the warm drive. Over here we have completely dry, clean pass-through. Now we can blend in the overdrive on this side. Right? Which in this case, the Electro-Harmonix Crayon side is based on the BB preamp, which is fantastic. So this is in tube screamer territory or BB preamp clean. Nice little boost there. So now, if you say did a blend of clean going through to the amp, partial distortion. You hear them both there, similar to the way we blended them with this, but putting that on top of your primary drive over here. We're starting to get many things happening here. The drive, the clean pass through, and this primary drive. Not necessarily something I would use there, but maybe on the subtler side of things, you could really start to get some clarity to your drive sound. Beef it up. That's got three things happening. Some clean guitar right through there, this overdrive, and some blend of the sort of BB preamp crayon side there. And one of the cool things about this is you got another boost there as well. Anyway, so we've really gone into the weeds here to fully flesh out. Some pedals have this wet-dry blend, very few. This parallel blend using this or the Wetter Box or something like this. What is the company on this minimal series? From One Control. That's on the more affordable range. Oh, I think that went up. Okay. And then some of the SaturnWorks products to, mix and blend. And then the foot switches are ideal on the pedal board to engage those different things and add expression. Really cool. So it goes without saying that, of course, we know that you can do a lot of these things with your modeler and whatnot. But I just wanted to give a breakdown of the analog real-world reality of these things to have a complete understanding of how they function. Because I have received questions on my on the MS3 groups and my deep dive series specifically about the Boss MS3. Regarding, well, how do I blend that dry mix in with the drives? And what kind of effects do I use all wet? So check out my series if you're interested in that with the Boss MS3. Those Boss overdrive sims and everything apply to a large array of the Boss products, the Rat, the T-Scream, whatnot. And I've also done an old video blending those parallel drives and stacking drives. So, okay, I hope this has been informative to you and fun, and you get something out of it to think about how you might want to experiment finding your own unique tone in this world of so many pedals and products. Okay, happy summer 2025. See ya. Can a chunky chug chug chugs?